Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. You made it. You made it. It's here. Joined now by the shot father from myjumpshot.com, Todd Leary. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Well, I cannot complain. There's no point in it. So I know you're not going to complain because I just saw palm leaves.
Can I show
over
you
your
my
damn
background?
head.
I was trying to
I was
walk
gonna
so I
say.
could get to a place where I can show you that background.
I got to get you added on here. I don't have you. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my background.
Yeah, that looks a little bit better than mine. If I could move
Mhm.
mine out the window of the studios here, you'd see a bunch of snow still.
Well,
But,
I'll be back there later today, so don't be too
don't-
excited for me.
Well, and it's perfect. It's going to get down to 2 degrees on
Yeah.
Sunday.
I'm real excited. Can't wait.
Yeah, cannot wait. How about upset night last night,
Oh
man?
my gosh.
It's like everybody was going down. Michigan gets their first loss in the Big Ten to a team that hadn't won in the Big Ten. That's how crazy things are.
Yeah, and they dominated. If you watch that game, they dominated the first half. I mean,
You look at their
didn't put
numbers,
them
they
away.
did everything you could
Yeah.
want. They shot the ball well. They hit 50% on 22 3-point attempts.
Yeah, no, they I'm telling you, they played pretty good. Minnesota just made very timely shots. Like, if I didn't watch most of the second half until the end, but I mean, that first half, Michigan just did whatever they wanted. And that just, if you wanted to define what the Big Ten's like without saying any words, just look at what last night was with all those games. That's exactly what we're going to get all year, I think.
That is the best and absolute way to put that. A great analogy and a great description. And it's just going to stay that way. But Michigan State right now remaining tough at the top, undefeated so far. That's not going to stay that way. But
Nope.
they've got a nice jump start to the season.
Yeah, they really do. And they, we said it back in early December when you get those two early games in your conference, that whoever is able to jump out to a little bit of a lead is going to have a major advantage. And both Michigan and Michigan State did that. And a little bit, has to do with their schedule. I mean, if you look at Michigan State's schedule, they've not played the most difficult schedule so far. But I shouldn't even say that because, it's very difficult to win no matter where you're playing. Obviously, they proved that last night. So to be at the point they're at right now, undefeated, I think, I don't get to go to their practices, so I'm sure I would look at it differently that way. But this is not one of the most talented teams Izzo has had to deal with, and he's getting a lot out of the team he's got up there right now.
Yeah, no one expected Michigan State to dominate. They knew that they would be up as one of the teams that was going to battle at the top, but no one was talking about Michigan State dominating this conference that was so deep.
And they won't be dominating it by the end of the year. By the middle of the season, they won't be. But
they'll get to see. They've got Illinois next, as a matter of fact, albeit at home up there. But they've got to travel. They've got to go to Rutgers. They've got to go to UCLA. They've got to make that trip. So they've got to go to Illinois. at some point? Trying to
Well,
look
I
at
mean, the good thing for Indiana
Michigan.
is after beating Rutgers, like we're rooting for Rutgers to win every every game they get. Like we need these wins to become more quality wins than what they are at this point. So,
And they got one last night.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's a big deal. Them getting that win on the road. That's going to bump their net up, which is only going to help Indiana having beat them. I mean, I do think, and we said it early in the year, with those two freshmen as good as they are, they could beat anyone in the country on a given night. Now they're playing like freshmen sometimes, making a lot of mistakes, and they don't defend as well as I thought they were going to. But that Rutgers team is talented and capable of beating anyone. But they've also proven like they can lose it to anybody also.
Yeah, they've gotten off to a really bad start. The hit by the injury bug to Dylan Harper, and then that kind of seems like it led to, I don't know, they just
play like freshmen. They play like freshmen. But you get that. But that's only going to, decrease playing like freshmen as the year goes on, as they get more experience and realize, if you heard Mick Cronin talk yesterday about, the Big Ten is just more physical. Like they're getting a wake up call, and for a coach to admit that like that, I mean, I think a lot of analysts, Jay Billis and guys, have said it for years after watching the Big Ten. And I'm not saying that means it's better. I'm just saying it's more physical. And UCLA, I think he gave a great analogy of what it is like to play in the Big Ten yesterday's press conference.
And to say that to me, that how I would see it, that means the officiating allows it to be physical.
Sure. It has
because
to, yeah.
the officials. So why would that be that way as opposed to not? And I'm not saying it's bad, good, whatever. I'm just as opposed to not being that way.
Well, I mean, so when you say the Big Ten's more physical, I think most of the time, and it's a part of this as well, but most of the time people think, oh, they're talking about the big guys inside battling in the paint. So I'm going to give a guard's perspective. That's not all the physical part they're talking about. Bumping guys on the drive, like that's the thing I think is different in the Big Ten than it is. And that's why when they go to the NCAA tournament and things are not officiated that way, I think teams end up in foul trouble more often. And so, it's the Big Ten is just it's officiated a little bit different. It's always been that way. It's kind of like, why does the SEC have guys that seem to be faster than everybody else in football? Like, I don't know, it's just kind of the way it's always been. And the Big Ten's always been known as a physical conference, and it's officiated that way. And not having won the NCAA tournament since the year 2000, I do think we should all analyze that a little bit as Big Ten people and see if maybe they should change that, because it's not working once you get to the big dance.
No, it's not. But I think, again, does that come down to the games that these teams are playing in are officiated differently because it's different officials, for one thing?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't visibly notice that. It's not like I watch, you watch Auburn and those teams play in the SEC, they're physical as all get out. So I think part of the difference, and maybe what Mick Cronin is saying, or I'm putting words in his mouth, but this is what I take from it, is it from top to bottom, it's more physical. It's not just the top 3 or 4 teams that are super physical. The bottom 3 or 4 teams are super physical also. And so I think it's just every night is a constant battle. And, I think it's always been described that way. I really feel like the Pac-12 out there where UCLA played has always been known as a little bit more of a finesse conference. And I'm not saying that negatively. Like I said, that has won more NCAA tournaments in the last 25 years than the Big Ten has.
Overall, we're at least not quite a third of the way through, just past the quarter, I guess, 6 games or so, but they're something like that, 30% through the conference this year. I know that there are 3 teams they seem like they're separating themselves: Michigan State, Purdue, and Michigan. That
Illinois.
can change. Illinois is there too. Yeah, they're not going away. Is there a team that has really stood out to you for a specific reason?
Well, Michigan, because they're just different. Like, they're hard to guard. They got a 7-foot point guard. And so, if you watch Michigan play, they play a lot like Purdue does, only the guy with the ball is 7 feet instead of 6 feet. And that's not a knock on either one. You're asking me, is there a team that stands out? They're unique. They're different in that they've got a player that's unique. I think a few years ago, Luka Garza at Iowa was a guy that was real unique. Like teams weren't used to seeing guys like that. And it's in a different, unique way. But I think Danny Wolf's kind of that same thing. And Vlad Golden, I think we're seeing the benefits for Vlad Golden, him being able to play off of another guy that big rather than everybody just be able to double team him all the time. It's a big deal. And they're unique and they're different. I think Illinois they've got some young guys that play well above their years.
Dude, that Casper's kid
he's so good. Yeah, he is. The NBA right now is absolutely salivating over a guy like that. Like
this dude was in high school last year, man.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Like they're salivating over a guy like that because he's a playmaker and he can score. And so many of those guys that are in that position, they've got to develop, one or two more of their skills. And that kid's coming in there. He's tough. He plays hard. Like he seems to get the loose balls and the rebounds when they're up 50-50 balls. And yeah, I'm at first when I watched them play in the year, I really thought that the big guy, Ivičić or whatever, I thought he was going to be the better one of those two new freshmen. But boy, that KJ guy he's really, really good. And he's a fun guy to watch play.
KJ.
I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce it.
Dude, Mike DeCourcy. That's it. That is it.
I can get.
See, I had it written down when Mike DeCourcy was on because he said it like you just did, and I wrote it down phonetically, but then I lost it, and so I'm like, where's that note?
Well, I heard the announcers. You probably weren't watching it, but the announcers in the IU game the other day called him KJ the whole game. So I'm rolling with that
one. I'm going to follow that lead as well. We've got the great Todd Leary with us from myjumpshot.com. For any of you that have kids or no kids, are a kid, know somebody that has a kid or anybody that needs some help with their basketball fundamentals, go to myjumpshot.com. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday, and that means our good friend Todd Leary joins us to walk us through some college basketball. Indiana tonight in action against the Buckeyes. Ohio State, they have not got all. They're not having the year that I thought that they would have, but part of that's because of the Big Ten. They're not like they're doing bad, but they need a win. They can't lose at home like most teams in the Big Ten. You just can't lose at home. So that's going to make life hard for Indiana. Then you can't ignore all the stuff that's going on. It's like having a bad cold and you just got all that crud in your chest and you just can't get rid of it. That's Indiana basketball right now.
And Ohio State, like Indiana can only hope that Ohio State fan, there won't be too many students there. Hopefully they're going to be all at the football game.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you never like these scenarios. Like Indiana was very fortunate and able to go and get a victory, against Penn State on the road, and they're going to need to steal a few of those. And this is another one of those opportunities. I think people right now would lump Indiana into a big group along with Ohio State and Penn State and Maryland, Rutgers, that are kind of in that they're not playing great, but they're capable of beating anybody. And what you said is exactly right. If you're Ohio State in this circumstance, you have to win your home games. And so that puts Indiana in a bad spot. But Ohio State's not playing that well. And Indiana is more talented roster-wise. When they line up on the court, they're going to be more talented roster-wise. That doesn't always mean that they're going to win, obviously.
Let's see. Dusty Banners asked, if you were handed the reins hypothetically, what three things would you immediately address for the apathy on the court?
Well, that's a great question, and I appreciate questions like that. The first thing that I would do is I would show these guys what it looks like to play hard. Whether you used whether you used film from old Indiana teams or whether you used film from like Auburn and teams like that. And I think these guys, I think that they don't totally understand how hard you have to play and how important every possession is. I want them to play fast. Okay. I don't want them to slow it down, but they make some turnovers that are just crazy. And quite honestly, Michigan does too. I'm not changing the subject off of Indiana, but the reason Michigan got beat yesterday, turnovers. Like they turned the ball over.
Yes. That was as a matter of fact, I'm glad that was their only negative stat, really.
Well, I watched the game. I didn't even know what it was, but I mean, they just have horrendous turnovers, like for no reason, just bad passes that just don't end up going where they're intending for them to go. And so, and that's the kind of thing for Indiana. Like they have got to, they've got to understand how important every possession is and start playing a little bit more that way. I think one of the things I would do, I would free these guys up a little bit to understand it's okay to miss shots. We're passing up good shots earlier in the shot clock, and we're not end up getting a good shot at the end of the shot clock. And, you know, Anthony Leal the other day took a three-pointer fairly early in the shot clock, especially for him. He usually only shoots at the end of the shot clock. And he missed it pretty badly, and I knew as soon as he missed that badly, if I was a coach, I would immediately call him over and be like, hey, keep shooting. We need you to shoot that shot. He's capable of making that shot. But I knew once he missed it, there was zero chance unless the shot clock was running out that he was gonna shoot anymore. And so, you know, the second thing I'm saying is I would instill a little more confidence in these guys and let them know it's okay to shoot those shots. It's okay to take some bad shots. Watch Illinois. They take bad shots all the time. But they play hard. They offensive rebound. They understand. You know, I still don't know. The third thing I would do when I came in there is I would tell these guys we're going to have an identity. You know, 2 weeks from now, everybody's going to know what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. And I think Indiana's identity right now is they want to pound the ball inside. And I don't think that's a system that's working right now. And in college basketball's in a 3-point, you know, crazy world, which I love, obviously. And Indiana is not a part of that.
Nope. And you are correct. And oddly, and this is going to sound a little crazy. I get this, but I was watching the women's game last night, and on offense, they play fast. They pass fast.
Right.
Their passes are
ball
quick,
moves side to side. Yep.
are fast. They move fast. And I'm like, you know what? I said, the men should practice against them to see what it's actually like to move this quick, to have to move that quickly. I know that they're stronger, that should be faster and all that, but I'm like, they're going to have to work. And if they would do that, this is how it actually is all the time.
Yeah, you're basically defining what my number one was that I said on there of teaching these guys how to play hard. Like you're just defining it better than I said.
As soon as you said that, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I thought last night.
Well, it's a thing, like understanding, you know, but I'm not blaming the players. And I'm not blaming the coaches. I'm just saying, like, Indiana's system is a slower system. And I don't think I know the coaches say that they don't do that, but what I'm saying is Indiana's more of we got 2 guys moving at all times, and then we got 3 guys standing at all times. That's kind of just in a real simple way to define it. That's how I see it. And I think they would be much better served to have at least 4, why not all 5 guys moving all the time. So much harder to defend teams when people are moving, especially cutting hard. And we do a lot of standing. Like I'm not bad mouthing our offense or what we do or whatever. I'm just saying we do a lot of standing. The film proves that. I don't have to. Like that's fact. Like you can just watch them. There's a lot of standing going on, and that's not in something that's going to create a lot of easy baskets. And I'll just say this is not a great shooting team, so easy baskets are important. And our only easy baskets seem to be Balo or Renew, you know, with those little jump hooks in the lane, which they're incredibly good at. But you got to be able to create some more stuff. I mean, Mackenzie Mgbako right now, you can tell his confidence is just in the toilet. And what I would do with him, I'd go to him and say, hey, look, anytime you can see the basket, anytime there's not a hand in your face, shoot it. You're open. If there's not a hand directly in your eye line, shoot the ball, because he's a dude that he can be a difference maker for this team, and I don't feel like we're getting the most out of a Mackenzie Mgbako that we could be getting.
Yeah, he has definitely gone into a funk that he's not been able to work himself out of or get out of. And it's sad to see, because you know how talented he is. I mean, you
Right.
talked about
It
how
is
good of
sad
a
to see.
shooter he is, and he is. Him and Luke Goody are both the only when Evan Miyakawa was on with us earlier this week. He's a stats guy. Those two are Indiana's only 3-point shooters that graded a B- or better on the team. So that goes back to your 3-point shooting. That's not helping this team either. And you already answered without even knowing Fred's question there. So a little got that telepathy going on today.
Well, and like let's go back. There used to be a saying of the sophomore jinx. Like there used to be a saying like your sophomore year is kind of the most difficult, especially if you've had a successful freshman year. People don't talk about it as much anymore. But I mean, it's kind of a thing. And I think this only from watching from afar. I don't get to be there every day at practice, but I'm going to say Mackenzie Mgbako is one of the guys. Coaches can be tougher on certain guys than others, and I would not put Mackenzie Mgbako in that category. I'm just going to say baby him. I'm being facetious with that. I mean, not baby him, but I mean, I would treat him differently. Like he's a guy that needs patted on the back versus kicked in the butt, and I think his shooting is directly related to – I mean, I think he shot really well early in the year because he was confident as heck. He knew his role. He knew what they expected out of him. And now he's taken a couple of bad shots, and he doesn't understand what a bad shot is, in my opinion. And so he doesn't know. When they say that, he's passing up some shots he should be taking because he's not positive if they're good shots or not. And he's a guy I would tell, don't even think. If you are open, you shoot it. End of story. No matter, I don't care if there's 29 left on the shot clock or 1 left on the shot clock. Shoot it.
So now going forward,
that one.
Oh, that's someone I said when they look up to the clouds. What do you see? I see Todd Leary. So now they're going to Ohio State. The problems of playing on the road, the problems that they're dealing with, all the turmoil, the social media beef. That was a little surprising, I've got to say, especially with it being Luke Goody, because he's a great young man. But I was a little surprised that he ended up being the one that got into that. But that should not be happening.
Definitely should not be.
That should never be happening, but it damn sure should not be happening right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, it shouldn't be happening. And I'm not saying one side's more right or wrong than the other. All sides are wrong in this, like that. But let me just say this, and please understand this. This is one of the things about Indiana basketball that really shocked me when I played. I would have considered our teams. We never won a national championship, so I do consider my time there as a failure. We all did. All of us that did not. Calbert Chaney considers it a failure. We all did. Our goal was to win a national championship, and we didn't do it. But we won a lot. We were a pretty successful team. And Calbert Chaney, Damon Bailey, Pat Graham, myself. It didn't matter if you were leading scorer or me. We got hate mail all the time. Social media is just different because I can do it in 4 seconds. I can send out 8 tweets that tells everybody how bad they suck. But we used to get those letters all the time. And as good as Calbert Chaney is, he would get letters all the time saying how bad he sucked and he wasn't any good and all that. And we were taught how to handle that and how to deal with that. And you don't deal with that by calling somebody names and engaging them in that manner. And you can. I mean, you're an American. You can free of speech. You can say and do whatever you want. But from an athlete's perspective, that's not the way it should be handled. And so I think Luke Goody was wrong in his response. I don't like the direct battles between, social media people going straight at kids and all that stuff. But when they do the TikTok videos and they do all that, they kind of set themselves up for that. Like it's hard to go on there and do those kinds of things and then not expect people to have a reaction. My point in about my day was people are not everybody's going to be happy. Not everybody's going to think that you're playing well, even when you're winning. And so engage some of that seems crazy. Like the fact that they even are on social media to me is a little bit telling because they shouldn't be. They got things to work on and things to fix. They should not have time to be sending out any direct messages towards someone. Like that's my opinion. That's just how I feel about it.
Oh, you're not alone because I absolutely am in that camp as well, and are a lot of others. And that's kind of what this whole thing was about. It's like, why are you even? I just don't get it. I cannot, and I don't know if it's just generational because it can't be just that. There's got to be at some point common sense has to come into play. But more importantly, the coaching has to come into play. Why is the coaches or their leader who's supposed to be their mentors, their leaders, not sitting them down saying, look, guys, why are you on TikTok or why are you doing this?
Right.
Let's focus on winning. Are you the best that you can be right now? How was your last game? What mistakes? No one's perfect. So why are you not working on that? Or I know you can't do it 24 hours a day. I get that. But
yes, you can. No, that's not true. Yes, you can. When you're laser focused, like I'm not like shooting you down. Like I'm just saying.
Hey, I'm all for it.
Like Kobe Bryant. Like I've read so much about and I respect him so much. I wish I had done all that before he passed away because I wish I could have enjoyed his play more than I did because that dude was a professional. I think he should be the standard. And when there is something, when you can get up in the morning and you can write out a list of things that you need to do for the day that are going to make you a better basketball player and help this team win, tweeting should not be on that list, or Instagramming or any of the social media things that you might do should not be on that list. And when they're not in a position right now to not be spending every possible minute getting better and trying to fix it. Because there's so many things about what he said that as a former player, like I would have questioned him about. Like I'm sitting there going, okay, well, what if you don't turn it around? His statement was, when we turn it around, don't switch sides back rooting for us again. Well, believe me, I'd love to be in that situation. I want you to prove me wrong. I've been wanting them to prove me wrong for a long time. We've given them benefit of the doubt. And to start calling people out, I mean, he's basically going with he's doubling down on the true fan statement. And
I think he regrets that comment right now. I think he was trying to say, have some confidence to show confidence that they're going to get it turned around at least. And he just chose the wrong words. And he probably wishes he would have used some.
And I've been advocating for this for years, and this Indiana basketball program, not just under Mike Woodson, I think for the last 20 years, they need a former player liaison. They need somebody, and I've offered to do it. They need somebody that coaches these guys on how you handle a press conference, how you handle criticism, how you handle the social media, how you handle these things. And you can't tell a player what to do and what to say, and you shouldn't tell a player what to do and what to say. But each one of these players has a air quote brand, and they get paid money based on their NIL and name, image, likeness. Like their brand is them. And what Luke Goody did the other day, these guys should focus on things that helps their individual brand. In turn, that will help the team. That will help the team become a better unit overall. But these guys need someone to teach them how to improve their brand. And what Luke Goody did the other day definitely did not improve his brand.
Yeah, the other day, when Don was on, Don Fisher, he said that he believed one of the problems was the money, and I immediately in my head said, well, the money's got nothing to do with it. It's because other teams have the same thing going on and they're playing their butts off. But the more I've thought about that, it's not just the money per se, it's the things you're doing to get the other money, the NIL money for different things. If you're doing commercials, if you're doing that, or if you're seeking this stuff, that's every bit of that is time away from your craft or studying or things that you're supposed to be getting done. So it does, in essence, it actually is part of the issue if you don't know how to balance it.
Yeah, and they shouldn't know how to balance it, because this is not something they can't call on one of the former players, and or there's no one they can really talk to about how do we handle all this or whatever, because it's never happened before. It's all brand new. And but they can seek wisdom from older people that have been through a lot of things and understand how to deal with some stuff, and especially criticism. And you can't handle criticism. Like what Luke Goody should have said was, yeah, they're absolutely right. Like we are not living up to our expectations, and for certainly Indiana basketball expectations. And that's the end of the statement. Like, we're doing everything we can. It not, because you take his statement, well, what if they don't turn it around? Then are we justified for calling them out? Like when are we allowed to root for him again? When we've rooted for a lot longer than Luke Goody's been there. And I don't mean to keep calling out Luke Goody. I think on your show, I'm a huge Luke Goody supporter. I think he's unbelievably important.
You're a supporter of all of these guys.
That was a mistake in my opinion, what he did. And I certainly hope, I don't know if they did, I don't know if they didn't or won't, but I certainly hope somebody with the staff would talk to him about that. Not just about, hey, don't do that anymore, about why don't do that anymore, about why that's not good for helping them become a better team. And that's all I want him to get out of it, because he doesn't need a lecture. He's a grown man. He's an adult. He's got a lot of money. He can make his own decisions. I'm not going to tell somebody what to think or do. But in that circumstance, I definitely think he could use some guidance in how to handle those situations. Anthony Leal, same way. Trey Galloway, same way. The way they handled senior night last year, ridiculous, atrocious, shouldn't happen. But somebody needs to teach them that. And if they had Coach Knight, if they had a coach that they had the fear of God in them, they wouldn't do stuff like that. And I'm not bad-mouthing anyone. I'm not saying it's coach's fault or anyone's fault. I'm stating the fact, in my opinion, of these guys don't have the fear of God in them. And there's no way someone would send a tweet like Luke Goody did under Coach Knight's reign. Like no way. No way. And I think they need to get closer to that.
I don't think it's just Coach Knight either. I agree with you. I mean, I think you can go close to home and say Kurt Cignetti. His players are not going to do that. He has, and I'm just using him as an example because he's close by, but he has control of his program. That's about all you have to say right there, to be honest with you. He has control of his program.
Without trying to be, hammer down like I'm going to tell you guys what to do and how to act. I think his guys feel like they've got some freedom to do certain things, but I also think that they are kind of holding themselves accountable, and they know their coach is going to hold them accountable. And so, in this circumstance, I do think that there are a lot of coaches that would not have permitted Luke Goody to engage like that.
No, the football players per se, I'd say that there's also a level of respect for their coach there, and probably a bigger level of respect for the fact that they would like to play, and they know damn well if they did that, they're not going to be playing.
Well, you know what? Like I'll say this, and there is something to this. Okay, so I played for coaches, my high school coach Jack Kiefer, and obviously Coach Knight. I played for very successful coaches, successful way before I got there. I had nothing to do with it, and so I played for guys who already had that respect. I don't know what it would be like to play for a coach that doesn't already have a winning pedigree and a bunch of banners to prove it. And so I don't know what that's like. So it's hard for me to speak on that. I will just say this. You need to treat your coaches like what they say is the law, no matter what. Like that's just how I grew up in sport. Now, it was always very easy for me because my coaches had the credentials. But I just think you always have to, if a coach says something, I remember specifically Coach Knight one year, I think we were playing the Russian national team. And Coach Knight, I had made a really bad turnover, and I was dribbling the ball up the floor. I've told you this before. I was dribbling the ball up the floor. He calls me over to the bench while I'm coming up the floor, and he said, "Hey, throw them the ball. Give them the ball." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Give them the ball. Just hand them the ball." The guy guarding me, I literally just handed him the ball, and he said, "That turnover is no different than the one you did 2 possessions ago down there." And so but I did it because he told me to do it. And that was out of respect. And he knew if he told me to ram my head against the floor, I'd have done it. And that's the level of respect when these guys, no matter who the coaching staff is, when they get to that level of respect for themselves, for their teammates, and for their staff, they'll be a different team.
I'm glad you told that story. I think I told that this week. I could not remember who it was against, but
I think it was the Russian national team. I'm not positive.
But I remember, and that was just this week I told that story.
That's
Man, safe travels. Look forward for you to get back.
And I'm not looking forward to it, but I'll be there in a few hours.
Yeah, we'll be talking about this Ohio State game.
All right.
We'll see, buddy. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. See you next week.